The Nigerian Senate has opened an investigation to unravel the circumstances surrounding the death of community worker Greatness Olorunfemi, who was allegedly denied treatment by Maitama General Hospital after she sustained gunshots from criminals popularly known as One Chance by an Abuja hospital. To help in its investigations, the Senate on Wednesday summoned the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, and the Health Minister, Professor Ali Pate. The Senate also invited the Federal Capital Department Authority, FCDA, to appear before it and explain the circumstances surrounding the death of the young Nigerian. Our Rice correspondent, Omar Bazaye, tells us more.
And so when I'm drafting policy, I've even drafted policy to as much as a company in Canada.
The victim, Greatness Olorunfemi, was on our routine that fateful day on Tuesday, the 26th of September 2023, when she was attacked by daredevil criminals, One Chance, who specialize in kidnapping and robbing unsuspecting bus and car passengers. Olorunfemi was still struggling with her life in a pool of her own blood after being pushed out of a moving vehicle when she was found by a good Samaritan, a taxi driver that rushed her to Maitama District Hospital for treatment to save her life. By all accounts, including those of the Senate, the hospital authorities refused to take her in, insisting on police report. Helpless, Olorunfemi bled to death.
Worried that even within the Federal Capital Territory and across the country, hospitals continue to demand for police report before victims are attended to. With an embarrassing report of the death of Miss Greatness Olorunfemi, a community developer and member of the Young African Leaders Initiative Network, on account of alleged refusal of Maitama District Hospital Abuja to accept and treat her.
The Senate believes a crime that violates the National Health Act 2024 and extant laws that make provision for the compulsory treatment and care for victims of gunshots in the country has been established, and the Senate wants justice done.
And we can actually start by looking at the chief law officer of this federation, who is the Attorney General. I believe this matter should be referred to his office for prosecution.
The Senate therefore mandated its committees on police and health to thoroughly investigate the matter to ensure that those culpable in the death of Olorunfemi are brought to justice. To help in the investigation, the Senate summoned the Inspector General of Police, the Minister of Health, and authorities of the FCDA, owners of the Maitama District Hospital, to come forward with explanations.
For somebody to have been injured and to have been abandoned by hospital nurses and the hospital itself, to die at the gate of where the person should have been saved, then you question the existence of hospitals in Nigeria.
At the moment, the punishment for non-compliance with the Gunshot Act is 5 years imprisonment or a fine of 50,000 naira, something lawmakers said is not stringent enough to serve as deterrent.
I have made my own decision that following this unfortunate event, that I'll be sponsoring an amendment to the bill to ask for stiffer penalties. Currently, the penalties to the 2017 Act calls for a fine of 50,000 naira. What is 50,000 naira compared to a human life?
As family and friends mourn the death of Olorunfemi and calling for justice, Senate observed a minute silence in honor of a caregiver who was denied the same affection when she needed it most. Omar Bazaye, Arise News.
Well, a sad one there. For more insights on this very shattering story, let's turn to Mike Mbanefo, a constitutional lawyer. Good to see you and thanks for your time. And well, this is really sad. I can also see that from your countenance. But again, this is not the first time we've had the police say hospitals are not barred or prevented from giving treatment even to gunshot victims. But again, we still see that happen. What exactly is the law about taking care of Nigerians who are in dire need in such situations?
Well, the treatment for victims of gunshot, compulsory treatment for victims of gunshot Act 2017 is in place, but unfortunately we keep making laws and laws and laws and laws without proper enforcement. By the time the law is conclusively made, it arrives obsolete. How do you equate a law seeking to ensure that one's life is not negligently taken, and a fine of 50,000 as against the person's life? The negligent party will easily send even 100,000 for you to let them be, because it's 5 years or 50,000. The issue with regards to this compulsory treatment for gunshot victims and other related matters, with specific reference to the lady that died, it has a lot to do with negligence of all parties.
All parties?
Right. All parties.
And all parties would be?
The government first, the hospital second, the police. Some of these laws will be made. At least every hospital is aware of this compulsory treatment for gunshot victims. They are very much aware. I've read an article where random interviews were conducted for hospitals, and the doctors acknowledge that they are aware.
So what could be responsible for this?
One question is, even if they admit a gunshot victim, does the police, at the instance of death, recognize the law in place that allows those doctors to take charge immediately without finding a way to making they themselves victims for even helping somebody to sustain his life?
Is that what could be at the root of all of this? Are there aspects of the this 2017 compulsory treatment and victims of gunshot law that, you know, could be discouraging hospitals from doing the needful, doing the right thing? Because part of it says, look, report to the nearest police station within 2 hours of starting treatment of the victim.
First of all, you know, this migration thing is a very big problem. I lost a cousin of mine exactly in this kind of situation. He was shot at by armed robbers who came in their neighborhood just because he tried to alert somebody. They fired into the space. By the time he was taken particularly to a hospital there, they refused to accept him because of the fear of the police. Fundamentally, the issue is premised around sensitization. That you make a law does not mean that the ordinary nurse who doesn't even know about the law, because the doctors may know, but does the nurses know?
Right.
If they don't know, they will not accept. Now, in regards to these unfortunate incidents, the place where the incident occurred, the distance from there to the hospital, because she couldn't have just come to the hospital and died. Maybe perhaps the injury was much. She would have been faced with hemorrhage, internal bleedings and all whatnot. The wound would have been bad, coupled with trauma. So by the time she comes to the hospital, you know, these people in the hospital have a way of knowing who will die. And most times they don't even want to accept. What one will be looking at is not the sufficiency of the law, in place, which is the compulsory treatment for victims of gunshot and other matters. What if the lady had come to the hospital, they took her in, she's unconscious, obviously. You don't know her blood group. You don't know where to start from with regards to tests. You may want to administer analgesics that may even lead to her death.
So these are possibilities. I'm happy you're exploring every angle objectively. But again, I'd like to stay on the issue of the police, which is very, very important here. Critical. And it has to do with those who are out there to help, at the end of the day, become victims because of the police. You spoke about sensitization. It looks to me that that sensitization also hasn't trickled down well within the rank and file of the police.
The Nigerian police today, I make bold to say that Nigeria has the best police in the world. This is something an American told me, an American security agency told me on one of my flights to America. I remember that flight was a first class. We got talking and he said Nigeria has the best police in the world. What is lacking is that individual qualities of self-awareness, corruption, and recklessness. Other than that, we have the best police. The problem again, you see this quota system of 18 is a problem. Let us not romance things because we want to please anybody with our sweet talks and all whatnot. When quota system comes into play, are there people who are qualified? Are there people who understand what it takes to be a policeman? If those things are lacking, no matter how fine the law is, no matter how strict the Inspector General of Police puts it out there, anybody who does not hear English cannot understand it by sign language.
Very fundamental points you just raised there. But before we let you go, what should happen now in this kind of situation to the hospital? Maybe some kind of deterrence, really.
The truth of the fact is that no matter the example you want to set with anybody, you cannot go beyond a fine of 50,000. That is the truth. Anything in addition to the obscure law, you are introducing another measure to it. So my take on this thing is that the family of the girl, the government, who I'm sure is listening to us now, should, as a matter of empathy, compensate adequately the victim while punishing the hospital. Even if they pay their fine, the government should mitigate the loss by some very either financial or otherwise, because it is the government that has started failing. You make laws as if it's a secret thing. It's only known to the hospital. It's not known to the staffs of the hospital. The management of the hospital is the problem. Have they sensitized their people? How many of the nurses know? I took somebody to the hospital recently. I didn't even know that this thing is applicable. So it is the compensatory aspect of the victim in this instance that matters. And again, to encourage the current FCT minister, without sounding immodest to whose horse is God, to match as many shoes as he can to make sure that this one chance people exit Abuja. Everywhere is parked, like he said. All these gardens, left, right, and center. It's too much. You don't know who is a thief. And there are too many wanderers in Abuja. Too many. 2 a.m., 1 a.m., 9 a.m., people are strolling. Beggars, particularly on the street, they are not supposed to be within the FCT with due respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike Mbanefo, constitutional lawyer. Thank you for joining us on News.